Different plants, different voices, and different ways of having conversations. It's time to get personal with plant medicine. Welcome to Getting Personal with Plant Medicine. I'm your host, Diana, and today I am joined by Melody Woolf, who is a Kratom activist and educator. How are you doing today, Melody?
I'm doing pretty good here in Michigan.
Yeah, this weather, I don't know how much you're getting there, but
UP has over 30 inches of snow overnight. So.
Wow. Oof. All right. Well, at least you're home and you're safe right now, so that's all that's important, right? So this is an episode that has been a long time in the making, as we just talked about before we started recording. And I'm really, really grateful that we finally made it work. Your advocacy work has been so important. I really, truly cannot state how impactful it is to see you tirelessly fighting for access. Every time I go into LinkedIn, it's like I told my husband, she's like a troll, but like the best kind of troll possible. So how did your Kratom journey begin on a personal level? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, a chronic pain patient for over 20 years. It started when my kids were little in elementary school. And I first noticed it the most when I couldn't, my hands started to hurt. And I couldn't hold my husband's hands without my hands being in pain. And so I went to the doctor, and it just continued to get worse. Then it would get better, and then it would keep coming back. And then the pains just started to spread through my body. And then all of a sudden, the pain just never went away. It never went away. I became bedridden for about 8 years. I started off with fibromyalgia, but then as you get older, things happen and you accrue more things. And I probably got about 5 or 6 things that are painful. I was given like up to 11 medications, including the highest level patch, fentanyl patch. And so in the time where I could be coherent, I would research, and I was on social media because they have pain groups where you can get support for other people that have the same issues you do. And so I went to those support groups, and somebody mentioned Kratom. And I researched it when I was, coherent. And I asked my doctor about it, and he told me to give it a whirl. He had heard a lot of good things about it, but he was also in a one practitioner office with a couple PAs and nurse practitioners, but he was just the main doctor. So I did, and I've been taking it every day, daily, for the past 12 years. When I was bedridden, as I said, my kids were little, and they even had to have a fan up on in their rooms at night so they could sleep at night because they would hear me crying in the downstairs in pain every night. And to say that our home was dismal, that's very charitable. It was then dismal. After I found Kratom, I was able to start becoming the mom that my kids deserved. I was able to get out of bed, so I lost 40 pounds immediately. And I've been kind of coming down even more to where I'm pretty much at my ideal weight right now. Allowed me to be there for my kids in a way that I couldn't. In 2022, my daughter was 2 weeks from getting off maternity leave, and the child care closed down.
Uh-huh.
And it was COVID, so there was no child care open anywhere. So they asked me to move in with them, which I gladly did. I moved across the state in Michigan. And then this past summer, my granddaughter, I babysat her all summer. I moved in with them again because they had a large home repair bill, and childcare is really expensive. It's $1,500 a month. That's a different conversation.
Yeah.
Saved them $6,000, during the summer, and $50,000 I saved them in 2022.
Wow.
For a full-time last-minute nanny.
Wow. So, not to cut you off, but did you go through a lot of trial and error when you first began with Kratom, like a lot of us do? Like, how did you figure that out?
I think I was taking too much, but we didn't know anything 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And then in 2022, when I was at my daughter's house, I participated in the first NIDA study. It was 2 weeks. You had to sign up on an app. And I did not realize how much I was taking because they asked you to document each time. And so I bought a digital scale
Mm-hmm.
and I tapered myself down to the lowest where I could be and still be comfortable. It's not going to take away my pain.
Right.
It's just not going to happen.
Right. It just dulls it to a dull roar, I like to say. It makes it a dull roar instead of a scream.
And when last summer I babysit my granddaughter the whole summer in the same zoo where my kids pushed me around in a wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
It's my 3.5-year-old granddaughter around the zoo all summer long.
That's amazing.
Every Monday we went to the library. Every Friday we went to the zoo. And so it's just an awesome summer with my granddaughter that I would not have been able to have without Kratom.
Wow, that is amazing. And so you were lucky enough to have a doctor who was open to this. A lot of us don't have that because, as you know, there is a lot of misinformation out there. And so, to that point, how did your activism begin? Because you are a tireless activist, as we said. How did that start for you?
Well, in 2014, the year I found Kratom, my state of Michigan wanted to make it Schedule 4.
Mm.
It was something that helped me, and now I've got to fight for it. And we were able to get rid of that, and I've been fighting ever since. It's what other alternative do I have? It's my mobility. I have to use a wheelchair if I don't have Kratom. And so it's just like I had no choice. I've been advocating daily ever since, and I've been to the Kratom Scientific Symposium, University of Florida Research Center with all the NIDA, NIH, FDA agents were there too, and
Wow.
FDA. So they were all there. And because of LinkedIn, I think that's ended up on the HHS press briefing stage
Mm-hmm.
where they talk about the benefits of Kratom and to distinguish it from 7-OH. So that was a really important step for us. Although inadvertently, because of the media, which I'm so glad to be on your podcast, the media will put Kratom in Fed's crosshairs, but the article is about 7-OH, which is not Kratom. Kratom's a partial agonist. 7-OH is a full agonist, and it needs some tighter regulations than Kratom does.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, I know being part of the media, every time I try to write about Kratom when I'm writing an article, the editor always chooses some type of headline that makes it sound illicit, I guess, for lack of a better word. Yeah, and I know why they're doing it, but it always, like the first article I ever wrote 9-10 years ago, I went deep into the community and I spoke to a lot of people. And, this is back when there was a lot of Facebook groups. I don't go on Facebook anymore, but I know there's still some that exist. But back then it was very like, if you know kind of a thing. And so when I wrote this article, I upset some people because they just saw the headline. And I was like, read the article, please. Because it was something like, is Kratom a botanical something or or is it a dangerous drug? It was, that kind of a thing. And I understand why the editor chose that, but I didn't have any control over it, ultimately. And it upset some people, but but I understand, I do understand why they do that. But at the same time, it's very detrimental because people sometimes just go off of the headline and they don't read the content.
I know. The governor looked at the headline. So there was either a governor or a staffer that did not do their job. They looked at all the headlines, and so they tried to ban the plain leaf products, the unadulterated products. And HHS Secretary Kennedy, he called them twice. Don't do it. Don't do it. Now, I don't know what's going to happen. They're kind of still trying to in Ohio, but they're going through the full regulatory process. They're not doing it as an emergency ban.
Okay.
They did ban 7-OH as an emergency health threat,
Right.
which is what HHS says it is.
Okay.
So they're going after Kratom, but it's the regulatory. They're taking their time. And so I think we'll probably be okay.
Hmm. I
But
hope so.
fingers,
Yeah, fingers crossed for sure.
I mean,
There's
I'm
rumors.
thinking,
I'm sorry.
I'm luck. Indiana has a ban. If Ohio has one, where can I really go?
Right. That's there's supposedly something on the books for Maryland. I cannot find it, but I am freaking out a little bit because I thought that we were good here. But then we can't ever think that, right?
Right.
Because there's always a new wave of misinformation, and that just leads to a lot of people believing these fear mongering headlines, right? So, to that point, like I mentioned earlier, you go toe to toe in the comments section, and I love it. What are some of the biggest misconceptions you face the most? I know you just spoke about 7OH, but what are some other ones that you see on a daily basis or weekly basis?
I would say that people think that it's dangerously addictive. And now 7OH, I can see that.
Mm-hmm.
I studied it myself because I'm not a scientist, though I do interact with them on a weekly basis. Um, and even NIDA, the National Institute of Drug Abuse, the director, Dr. Nora Volko, she was the keynote speaker at the symposium. She gave the same favorable stand that she gave in 2023 at the U.S. congressional briefing, that she put her statement into the record for the 2024 one, though she was not able to be there. She still put her statement into the record. And she's, she's pretty favorable about it. She's like, so big. Also, there's a lot we don't know. But she never talked about a ban. She never talked about a ban. Not one scientist or regulator from any U.S. healthcare agency talked about any kind of a ban beyond an age limit.
Mm,
No one, no one said, "Well, let's have a sales ban." The word ban was mentioned once,
okay.
and because people think it's addictive, I think that if it was dangerously addictive, that the director of the National Institute of Drug Abuse would say so, and she does not say that. Having said that, there's a population that's going to get addicted to anything,
Mm-hmm.
and she just notes that, like, I can't remember how she said it. She says it needs to be available to people in the non-traditional settings because they don't have the money to go into rehab. And if they do, it's available.
Mm-hmm.
And if they live in a rural area, how are they going to get there? There's just a lot of barriers. And, she looks at it as one of the tools, not to help the opioid crisis. She doesn't look at it as something that's promoting the opioid crisis. She looks at it as a tool that can be beneficial to many. So it's not for everybody.
Harm reduction, from a harm reduction point of view, right?
Yeah, I think so. Being that it's addictive is the biggest thing, because when Scott Gottlieb was the FDA commissioner, he used the word opioid, and I believe it was done on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
He knew that the average person is going to hear opioid and think opiate,
Mm-hmm.
and so that it's an opioid, technically to the very letter, is Kratom an opioid? Yes, but then so is cheese. That's why we have a country addicted to pizza. But I've heard Dr. Christopher McCurdy, he's pretty much in charge of $100 million worth of grants for Kratom research. He said to call Kratom an opioid is a disservice. He said, though it technically by the letter it is, it's it's not your typical opioid. If you want to call it that, it's not the typical opioid. So that is one of the biggest things that confuse people. Is it an opioid or not?
Yes, and I've even had to push back. I've seen some editors put calls out for sources, and they said that kratom was an opiate. And I was like, no, it is not. And you need to do a lot more research, especially considering the publication that you're editing for. um, and they wound up taking it down and everything. But it's so irresponsible to just put that out there like that without There's so much nuance. Like you said, I am as addicted to kratom as I am to cheese. I mean, my body is physically dependent to the pain on the pain relief, you know. Your
I do.
right, because once you've reached that homeostasis, or at least as close as you can get with a chronic illness, your body becomes adjusted to that, right? And then when all of a sudden it's gone, you are going to experience symptoms that mirror, some type of, like detox, right? Because your body is kind of freaking out and going, where is the pain relief that I was getting used to? Uh,
Hmm.
I just think people really conflate the difference between, or I should say, they conflate addiction with physical dependence, and that is very dangerous.
Right now in my office, is my desk behind me. I have, in case I don't want to go upstairs, I have instant coffee because I don't want to be without it. My family is so afraid to let us run out of coffee because they know I will send somebody to 7-Eleven at 7 a.m. I'm probably, I have a dependence on coffee. I have a dependence on them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd say they're much the same. If I don't have coffee, I get a headache. You don't want to be around me. I hate to admit this. I even carry a little coffee packet in my purse.
Yeah, I would say I'm the same way about coffee, and coincidentally, kratom is in the coffee family, right?
Yes, it
So, so what are some particular challenges you face online when you're trying to share your story? I know there's a lot of unnecessary censorship when pretty much anyone in the plant medicine speaks about, or space speaks about, plants in general, but specifically kratom and cannabis are targeted more than others. So
Facebook profile.
you have what, four Facebook
No, I'm on the fourth one
Oh, fourth one.
because
Okay.
Facebook took down the other three. You must not talk about it helping you. You must not talk about the science, or we will take away your Facebook profile. I'm on number 4.
Right. And didn't your husband say something like it is helping her tremendously, and then they took him down, or took his comment down,
Yeah,
or something like that?
post down for saying kratom helps my wife tremendously. And he was even, I appealed all of his violations. He was even in jail till I bailed him out. But Facebook, I don't understand it. You can buy an ad, but you can't talk about the science.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I stopped using it.
So I don't lose connections with people, but I've kind of toned it down a bit.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'd say that legislators want political capital. They want the low hanging fruit. They see kratom in the headlines in a negative way. And so they say, well, if I go out kratom, I can say that I got kratom and I helping this opioid crisis. I think they use it for political capital.
Absolutely. I saw that firsthand, and when I lived in South Florida for a little while. It's a very easy campaign to run
Yes,
on.
because people already believe bad things about it. So if you go against it, even without looking into it, they will think, oh, he's getting a bad drug.
Yeah.
It's low hanging fruit. It's easy. Somebody already has a negative. The interesting about kratom, I think if this would have happened 15 years ago, I think that kratom would be banned right now. So the social media, it's bad, but then that's what allowed me to find it.
That's true. That is
I
true.
would not have found kratom if it wasn't for Facebook. So
The catch 22.
yeah, I say legislators are my biggest obstacle to get across because they just, even if they do finally get it, now they don't want to look bad. They want to save face. So they often just go after it anyhow.
Right. And it really speaks to the lack of caring about your constituents, right? Because if you did, then you would look like in Ohio, for example, is a perfect place to look at as far as how did the opioid crisis affect the state,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I know in like Florida, and we actually had a special episode about the attempted Ohio ban. And we spoke to someone who sells kratom there, and he made the point that these bans keep happening in areas where the opioid crisis hits the hardest. And so to me, it's just like, well, you're really telling on yourself as a politician then, because you're not really doing the research to see how this impacts your area, your
Mm-hmm.
constituents. Like you said, it's an easy way to get some kind of glory from people who don't do their research, basically. Um, yeah,
They're reactive. It's
right.
stating just before COVID hit, um, a couple in the Upper Peninsula, blaming Kratom for their son's death, called Senator Bison in the far Lower Peninsula, southwest corner. They were the only ones that called him, and he floated a bill to make it a Schedule 2, just based off of two people in the UP without any research. Now he ended up being found guilty of a crime for something, and so that bill died. Politicians are reactive. They need to take a step, take a breath, and do some research. And then after they've done their research, if they still feel strongly about it, well, okay.
Yeah, exactly. It's basically like what we tell kindergartners, right? Like little kids, like take a breath,
Take a,
blow out the birthday candles, as I tell my son.
the legislators, they are really hard in Michigan. I thought we were fine. We're going to get the KCPA passed, running into some obstacles, and I'm dealing with that in my state. And this is, I hate to come down on legislators because some of them are really helpful to me, and I appreciate that if you're out there. But I had a commitment from the Speaker of the Michigan State House, from his legislative, oh, we will get the KCPA. The Speaker is for it. And now the Speaker has put a halt on all forward motion on the Kratom Consumer Protection Act. It takes care of the issue. The reason you want to ban it is because they say, well, it's not labeled properly. It's not, banned from minors. It could have contaminants. Well, if you ban it, you can't put any guardrails on it. It's going to go to a black market. So let's pass the KCPA and put the guardrails in it that you think should be there. We think they should be there too. So legislators there are some good ones though, because I know they're probably this.
Oh, yeah, I know. We shouldn't badmouth everyone. There definitely are people out there that pay attention to the data. And just for those who don't know, the KCPA is the Kratom Consumer Protection Act. And I thought that if your state had that in place, then you wouldn't have to worry about a ban, but that's not exactly the case, is it?
No, I think it's against low hanging fruit. They see a boogeyman to go after.
Yeah. Well, so how do you stay hopeful when when you deal with all of this every day? Like, do you have any hope for the future of Kratom still?
I think eventually we will be okay, but it's going to be 2+ years before we're okay. I did an interview here in Michigan. They said, what would happen if they banned it in Michigan? I said, I would have to move. What if they banned it in the country? I would leave the country. And I would leave the country. I lose my mobility. And I know my kids would not want me to go back to being bedridden. So that's just the biggest thing. I think we're going to be okay eventually, but it's going to take a while. And we need more advocates. We need more advocates.
Absolutely.
All you have to do is keep track of your local meeting agendas and minutes. I'm sure that there are other things in your city that you don't like or you do like or you want them to do. Go talk about that. And if they have a Kratom issue, talk about Kratom too. And I'm sure there are things in your state that you want or don't want done. Go to your legislator with some other issues or concerns that you have and talk about Kratom. At one time, we kind of didn't want to take the information to people because it's like, let's just let it alone. Maybe we'll be okay. Cat's out of the bag.
Yeah.
It's just out. And so
Yeah.
all the people that consume it, or even just mental freedom people. Pain patients see every tool in the toolbox. We don't need to be taking them out. And just like for a car, not every tool works in every part. Not every tool is going to help your patient, but it's going to help somebody. So don't take it out of the toolbox. Just put reasonable guardrails on it. We need more advocates. That's the main thing I would say.
Absolutely. It is a little difficult at the moment too, because there's very heavy debate between banning K. Oh my God, it's K. I said KOH. 7OH. I was going to say KOH. 7OH and banning Kratom, right? There are some people that think that if we ban 7OH, then that will ban all Kratom.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are other advocates who feel like we should ban it. And that I see is causing some type of a divide in the community right now.
And I still stand by what I say. I don't think it should be sold retail. I don't have the regulatory expertise nor the scientific knowledge to know what to do with it beyond that. I don't know that it should not be sold retail. But where it belongs, after that, I don't have the information to it, so I don't try and guess about it.
Yeah, that's a good stance to have.
Yeah.
So how can people get more involved? I know that you said pay attention to your local meetings and things like that, but like, what is a really easy way for someone who is not typically aware of what's going on politically, or just doesn't understand, if they have the time, they don't understand how to get, started, basically?
There are two consumer groups, and they do not sell Kratom. Neither one of them sell Kratom. One is the AKA, American Kratom Association, and the other is the GKC, the Global Kratom Coalition. Now, the AKA works mainly on federal and some at the state level. The GKC works a lot at the local level, some at the state level. And they do work together now. And they've kind of like divvied up the states because there are just so many things to do that we had to divide states up between the consumer groups. And I work with both of them. I've worked with both of them since the GKC came into existence. Get with one of those. They have websites. I believe they are on LinkedIn as well. But I would go to their website, just type in Global Kratom Coalition or American Kratom Association. You can always get in contact with me on LinkedIn. And I would suggest make a comment on a post and tag me, because as Diana will tell you, I will see it. I will see it in the post. And then the agencies I mentioned, the associations, they have forms to fill out right on their website. You'll fill in your address, the state, and you'll get notifications. And you will get notifications about webinars. The AKA usually has a webinar at least once a month, sometimes more if there's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
It was just those two places.
Okay, awesome. And also, Christopher from Christopher Organics Botanicals does weekly talks for those who want to get involved in the conversation. So I appreciate you so much, everything that you do. Is there anything else that you want people to know before we end? Anything that you particularly want to spread the message about?
You think it takes a lot of training for advocacy? It doesn't. I have had zero training. I kind of learned as I went along. It takes probably for you to check your city and county boards and councils' agendas and meeting minutes. Probably will take you 15 minutes a week. If you can just do that, you're advocating. That's all it takes. And if you've got more time, of course, we can put you to work. But if you have a full-time job and a family, it only takes 15 minutes a week to get just in your own backyard.
All right. I love that. Thank you so much once again.
Christopher's Organic Botanicals, a family-owned and operated South Jersey business for all your Kratom needs. We share the love, passion, and integrity of Kratom and traditional herbal tea products. Shop small and support local businesses. We've got a wide variety of products you can check out on our website. Shop tea, powder, capsules, crushed leaves, and extracts from the comfort of your keyboard. Simply visit Christopher'sOrganicBotanicals.com. The testimonials speak for themselves.
For me personally, I use it for energy in the morning. I was hit by a car as a little kid, So I was always looking for something to get me moving a little bit better. This helps basically lubricate the joints, helps me get things going, and makes me feel a lot better.
American Kratom Association audited and approved CGMP vendor. Like us on social media and call us with any questions, 609-202-6880.
Getting Personal with Plant Medicine is brought to you by Christopher's Organic Botanicals and is produced by Your Highness Media.